in the book bag.
That's a good one.
I think that was probably one of the best parts of the conversation.
Yeah.
You want me to keep this recorded because you be saying some gems when we're not recording.
Yeah, just keep it.
Yeah, because I was going to stop it. I was like, nah, you be dropping gems when we not recording.
That's true. That's true.
And I was even gonna say, piggybacking off something that Jay said too, though, man. Like that balance that I was trying to say is, you see it now. With today's times, we got access to the internet and stuff.
Yeah.
Like these emotions that we have, you seeing it through things that we creating. Like
Yeah.
towards being entrepreneurs. Like
Yeah.
I've heard his music. Like he's storytelling
Yeah.
about things that he's gone through.
Yeah.
PAX comes from because I come from a heart at home. It's like let me spread positivity and peace.
Yeah.
You know, whatever things that we're doing, like
My business came out of depression,
You
to
feel
be
me?
honest.
Like, even my
Yeah.
stand-up, you know what I'm saying? That's, like, you make depression funny as a comedian.
Yeah.
It's
You know,
like
comedians, they talk
yeah.
about themselves all the
You
time.
make that trauma funny. And it's like, it's crazy because even as a
It's the
kid,
gamble.
adults never lied on kids. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but like, adults was never allowed to lie on kids. So like, if a kid say, no, this is wrong, you get checked out for, no, how's that, you know what I'm saying? Explain to me,
Yeah.
why is this right? You know what I'm saying? I was always that kid too, like, no, tell me why it's right.
Oh, because
No,
I
don't
said
worry about
so.
it.
Because I
It's
said
like,
so.
bro, that ain't
It's
something.
because that whole respecting that I was talking
Yeah.
about, and that's great that you were young enough to do that. But like now that we're actually in a place where we can question things, we can learn things, we can unlearn things, and really like debate on certain things. Like, why am I believing this? Because my mom or my dad said so. Because this is how I was raised. Like, it's easy to just follow what you're used to when you're in your upbringing,
yeah.
but to actually like get to a place where you can like decide for yourself when you're dealing with conflict on your own and like really making that like how that looks for you, like that's big.
Yeah.
Like even it's funny, like even the small things, like you were saying, like it was decided for us. Like growing up, I never had onions and tomatoes on my food. Cause my mother was like, nah, onions, tomatoes wrong, it's nasty. And I was like, and I used to always tell people, nah, onions, tomatoes nasty.
Yeah.
And then when I went to one of my friends' house, they was cooking and I was like, oh, this is good. I was like, what's all in this? You know what I'm saying? Blah, blah, blah. He was like, oh, it got, spaghetti. He was like, I got this, that, and forth. And he was like, I was like, what else is in it? He was like, tomatoes. Like, tomatoes can't be in spaghetti. It's paste. You know what I'm saying? That's what's in it. And then and he was like, yeah, my mother put onions in it. I was like, wow. I was like, this is actually good. And I was like, it was funny that
you just blindly go because you blindly trust who you're, being raised with.
It's kind of like the Kendrick Lamar bar that I sent you yesterday when I was listening to, was it Father Time? I don't know if it was Father Time or not. Die Hard. And he was saying that how you get that constant reminder in the black home that the world is dangerous. But when you kind of just are a good-spirited person, you'll give all that up for a stranger. And that's kind of like the thing now. It's like you said, these things that people are installing inside of you as a kid, like you can't do this and you can't do that. And some stuff, when you see the world like act how they act, it's like they were right. But you gotta, that little bit, you have to take that and carry that to your adulthood. But you got to pick that fine line when it's like, I'm not gonna carry that over because that's not healthy. That's not good. So,
It's almost like
But-
when we would say, "Oh, I'm depressed. I'm depressed with dishes."
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that too is really important to talk about. Since we're on the topic of parents, and that was brought up, the transition or the difference between however they grew up might have been for survival.
Right.
Exactly.
I was just talking about that.
Yes.
And not to say that that's not the case here or has ever been, but I think it got to a point for them or for older generations where it was, we don't have time to feel these feelings.
We have to just get through it.
We have to get out the door and get back home. And,
Yeah.
and that's the blessing in that. Like we can't stop to feel these things and talk about these things because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
So I think that's always an important
And then I
thing
think
to recognize.
and on growth and like growing and everything, I realized maybe our parents were actually protecting us from certain
That's why I
things.
said
Because
intentions.
because when I thought about it, like when we were kids, the grass always seemed greener. Like life was just like everything was more flourished. The flowers just looked beautiful and everything. But I think that was blinders that we had on, and then they were able to see the real world as adults.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So they saw what it was going to be for us, and I think that's probably part of the reason why certain things they didn't allow us to do.
And I think that even with that, to what you said, it's a blessing that we have, internet and stuff to get information and stuff. However, it's also, a curse too, because of the fact that their floodgates are all open for information. So it's like you're getting information from all different types of people, all different types of sources, and you can't decipher what is real, what isn't real. And so it's like, it's kind of like we need boundaries as people. Like there's not, like we're not supposed to live a boundaryless life because of the fact that when you don't have boundaries, you don't know what's your limit. So it's like you can go to the furthest, and that's what we're seeing. That's why everything be so extreme, where it's like we'll extremely be radical, and then we'll have to bring it all the way back, and we'll be, you know, all the way to the curb, like with this. And you just see the contradiction that comes from doing that. It has to be like a fine line, and it's like I think a balance, like you said, like parents just have to, like, and again, we are like, you know, the generation of people that are able to get that information and be like, okay, I see how my parents did it, I see what I had to go through, maybe I can like blend it, and we're not going to do it right. There's going to be, you know, our kids is going to find a different way, like you said, from survival to information to whatever the next, like, you know, tier is. But it's kind of just that, like you said, that being black and trying to grow through being black with being behind the eight ball.
With the world it is. So when we become adults, we understand. It's like you can look back on, like, you know what, they wasn't tripping. So like you said, it's just, you gotta bob and weave through it, man.
That's crazy.
I just wanted to share my favorite quotes because you were talking about intention. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. One of my favorite quotes. And regardless of what you mean to do and what your intention is, how it's perceived or received is like a major part of that communication. Not the biggest part. And so it's definitely something to grow from. And if people are able to, even with unlearning and how long that can take, I think it's a great thing to even just try. Because even now we have those resources. God willing, if our parents are here still, they have them too at this point. You know what I mean? Or can have access to them, or we can help along the way. You just have to be open to them.
Right.
That's the
My uncle, he's in his
Yeah.
40s, and he's just now getting open to therapy and being open and being able to even share that experience with me, where he's unpacking a lot of things that he's dealt with in his life, and with living with my grandfather and things like that. Like, it's deep. And just imagine like where we all are now, like dealing with our mental health now. And for me, I feel like it's crucial. But for me to be in my 20s, and then to know that my uncle is just now really trying to address that, like, that's huge. And to imagine like all the stuff that he's been like bottling inside for years.
The same way we feel and are behind the eight ball, so are they.
Because they even feel like time is going and all.
And it's even worse for, you know what I'm saying? I think it was
Scary
worse for them
now,
because
man.
they was dealing with, like, especially my mother, because she was dealing with the segregation. Like, my mother was born around the Ruby Bridge time. You know what I'm saying? My grandfather was before that. So I can understand, like, you know what I'm saying, how it may seem tougher for them than it is for us, and then so forth. But our kids gonna get a little better. May feel
You
like
just gotta prove that. I mean, you gotta choose to, like, say, like, I'm weak, I can't do this, you know, and that's unlearning a lot, you know, especially as a 40-year-old, a 50-year-old, you know, like, your whole life you've been programmed to think hard. And so it's like, now you stuck in your way and rooted, you know, that doesn't change overnight. You know, so it's like you have to have patience with folks.
It's the double O effect, man. Optimism and opportunity.
Let's get some more on film. This is really good.